Good afternoon and welcome along to Match Day live here on Fox's Hub as we're in the countdown to the end of the season now. Leicester City host Southampton in the Premier League this afternoon at King Power Stadium. Well, welcome along everybody that is joining us. Please do get involved in the comments, get your questions in for our guests. As ever, hit the like and subscribe button. And without further ado, we will introduce the two of those. Matt, Elliott and Steve Howard, fantastic to have you both along with us. As ever, you got a big smirk on your face, looks like you're about to come in and...
No cutting comments, mate. No. Just happy to be here.
They'll come a little bit later.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But
new trousers as well.
Yeah.
Took inspiration from
two for the price of one, wasn't it, basically? Good job Nuge's not on the settee as well. He had his on last week. We would have looked lemons, wouldn't we, three of us? Luckily, Steve's breaking it up. But you want to think yourselves lucky. I had my shorts on till midday, and I decided against that. Step too far.
Yeah, been in the garden all week, have you?
Been in the garden. It's been sunny up where I live, so it's been happy days. Yeah, bit of factor 30 on, brilliant.
Yeah, got to, haven't you?
I fell asleep in the garden in the week, 4 hours flat on my back. Which is why the face is like it is a little bit, I think.
It's looking all right.
Is it? Is it settled down a bit?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, not too red anymore, Right. We've got football, obviously, to talk about today. It's the final day of the Championship as well. We'll give a few updates on what's going on there. There's quite a lot happening in those games that affects a few of the clubs in and around Leicester. I'm thinking the likes of Coventry, Derby, all in positions that could change throughout the day. So we can give updates on those rivals, as well as looking ahead to this game with Southampton. A number of changes have been made. Let's have a look actually at today's team news then from a Leicester point of view, obviously starting off with them. And there's been a number of changes as well, which is potentially quite refreshing to see from that Wolves game. Obviously, a week ago. It's Stolarczyk in goal, Thomas, Fass, Cody and Justin, with Ndidi and Skip in midfield. Ayew, Elkanous and McAteer support Jamie Vardy. He is still on the hunt for 200 goals in a Leicester shirt. Can he do it in his final few games for the club? Could today be the day? Obviously, he missed a penalty last week. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. We'll also talk about him chasing that milestone. On the bench, it's Everson, Akoli, Christensen, Daka, Samare, Koulibaly, Golding, Evans and Monga. So quite a youthful looking bench, which again is quite exciting to see. Today's visitors, Southampton, everyone knows the position they've been in pretty much all season as well. They've got Ramsdale in goal, Stevens, Bednarek and Harwood Bellis. The defensive three with Manning and Walker Peters as the wing backs. They've got Flynn Downs in midfield with Ugo Chukwu, Fernandez, Sulemana and Ross Stewart. The front three for today's visitors. We're going to concentrate though obviously on the Leicester City team news. Matt, I'll start with you. Obviously Wolves away was another difficult afternoon. There've been a few of those this season. It is fair to say. He's decided to make a number of changes, and we've seen. We'll get the team back on for you. Oliver Skip coming in. That's not raised a few eyebrows. That's the wrong term, but we've not seen him start in a few games now. So to see him come in is interesting. Great to see Casey McAteer again on the right hand side. What are your reactions to today's team?
I think there are differing reasons for different players being omitted and other players coming in. Obviously, injury is an issue with De Cordova-Reid. Hopefully, injury isn't an issue with Ricardo. I don't know if you know more than me about that one, Dan, but see him not involved in the squad.
Who's that, sorry?
Ricardo. Not sure there, but obviously Hermanson we know about, so changing the goal. Stolarczyk is not a problem, is it? Not a problem. He's done well, but Casey McAteer, as you mentioned, getting his start, and perhaps there's, I don't know, really, it's difficult to say. So in some instances, there's half an eye to next year, maybe. With there might be some sort of indication about,
absolutely,
who's going to be around and who maybe isn't. With, Buonanotte. We don't know the situation with him, whether that's injury or what. Or he's a lone player, unlikely to be here next year. Don't know. Ifs and buts, but don't want to speculate too much. But I don't think too many supporters will be that unhappy with that lineup. It needs a bit of variation, doesn't it, from last week's performance, really?
I think it's good to have a change. I think we've been calling that for a while now. To see some different faces, and especially against Southampton. You're going to be playing against Southampton next season.
Yeah.
So it's a good chance to throw. I always thought it was a good chance to throw the younger lads in. So and especially a fixture in the Premiership, which will become a fixture in the Championship. See if they do well against these in the Premiership. Put them in against the Championship. But no, it's refreshing to see new faces for me.
You've got to try and get what small gains you can out of this fixture.
And you know what? Towards the end of the season, I mean, what was it, 4 games left? You've got to take that momentum into next season. And I think if you do play some of the younger lads, give them a bit of confidence, and they'll be raring to go next season.
Yeah, well, Jack Tozer on YouTube says lineup is okay. I like to see the young players get an opportunity. We've got nothing to lose, obviously, because we're down. It's good to get some experience, prepare for the Championship next season. Obviously, he's referencing maybe wanting to see more of them, but there's a number of them on the bench. We are seeing the likes of Casey McAteer in there.
Yeah. Well, Casey's relatively experienced, isn't he? Maybe not in Premier League terms too much, but the more games, the better for him, as is the case with any player. But you're not worried about what you're going to get from Casey McAteer. You know pretty much. It's just about how much he improves and develops. But he's a relatively confident lad, and I'm sure he'll do more than fine. The changes are not massively youthful, are they? Is it Skip coming in, Stolarczyk? Again, they're of an age, and Skip's been around the block for a while, isn't he? But what he will be, or he should be, I would imagine, is champion at the bit to get some sort of regularity in his appearances, because came for a sizable fee, hasn't worked out for him, but he'll feel that he's been given limited opportunities.
Yeah, I think, and when we have seen him, he's really put himself about.
Yeah, he does. In fairness, it hasn't. It's been hard, hasn't it? It's been hard this season for any one individual to make a huge difference and impact, I think, because it's been collectively so difficult, really. There hasn't really been that platform. But, you've all got to contribute and chip in, give you a bit, without a doubt. But
something like Skip should be, today especially, should be going, I'll have a bit of this.
Yeah.
And stay for the next 4 games, and, put his flag on the ground and say, right, that's me for the next 4 games. So
because again, I don't know this. Samari from memory didn't come off injured, did he, last weekend? So I don't want to speculate too much, like I'm saying, but it might be half an eye on next year. Oliver Skipper's done well very well in the Championship previously. You would imagine it's most likely he's going to be here next year. So I think there's a sort of a little bit of an eye on that side of things in the lineup today, and hopefully the performances can back it up.
Yeah, it's not great to bring up either of these things for you, but you have both been involved in teams that have been relegated. When you get to the stage where the relegation's been confirmed and you're playing in these games, is there some players that are maybe like, oh, well, what's the point almost, and others that are thinking, well, I'm going to prove a point because I want to play next season? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I always thought if you're going to go down, and, I think I've had 3 relegations in my career, you want to go down, at least put in a good performance so it gives some excitement for next season. It gives you confidence for next season. And I think, the players, the dressing rooms I've been in, I don't know, it'll probably be the same for you, Matt, but you get some players who have got one eye thinking, right, well, we're relegated, I want to be off.
Yeah.
So they're not bothered. And you got the other lads saying, well, you know what, we got you in this mess, let's get out this mess next season. So I was always one of them lads who thought, right, let's put it right, because it was your mistake, you put it right. But I know there's a few in the dressing room where maybe they'll look at each other going, I'm going to be off.
Well, sometimes their contract circumstances dictate, don't they?
Exactly,
their mentality a little bit.
Yeah.
Even with the best of intentions, some of them are not as focused, shall we say, as others.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
What I can say though is knowing the group, a lot of the group personally, obviously in what we do, that I think there's very, very, very few that would be in the former category of not being bothered. They do want it. They do want.
I think everybody.
It's not intentional all the time.
Everybody's bothered about getting relegated. Nobody wants to get relegated, do they?
No,
not at all. It's just the way you get relegated for me. And you know, and I just think, you know, that you want to go down fighting. You know, even if you got that R next to you, you know, the team name, go down fighting. So.
Yeah, well, that hasn't sort of been Leicester's forte all season, though, has it? Really?
No, it hasn't.
You know, if you're being honest about it, I've always sort of tried to advocate, not that anyone's going to listen to me, but when, you know, comment or speaking about the situation, Leicester needs or teams down the bottom, I think first and foremost, need to try and make themselves difficult to play against, be horrible to play against, niggly. And I know that's hard to do now in the modern game with the rules as they are, you know, but you know, you can push the boundaries a little bit and be a side that teams don't enjoy playing against, first and foremost. Then you do your little bits and pieces that you can. You hope someone produces bits. But
I suppose that's like of having an identity, isn't it? I feel as though Leicester's
it's hard to change from one type of team to another.
Yeah, and I feel as though that Leicester's just got to get their identity back and say this is a team, this is the way we play, this is who we are. So then you put the fear into other teams and think, well, this is what we're going to get today, and and you go from there.
I guess that did happen though, didn't it? In the previous championship season,
it
did like that.
And absolutely.
And then obviously with what happened with Enzo going to Chelsea in the summer, then suddenly that feeling of identity was lost slightly, losing some key players as well.
But that type of play, that style of football, is questionable, isn't it? At least to say whether that's applicable to play that way in the Championship and then in the Premier League. It was always going to be interesting. I would have liked to have seen what would have happened if Maresca had still been in charge. You know, Leicester's playing more possession football, but whether it would have come off, unlikely, probably. But yeah, you're right. You've got to have the personnel as well who naturally play that way as well. Leicester,
I mean, it's not
necessarily geared up.
It doesn't help as well when you're changing managers as well, because obviously different styles, and you know, he might have a different identity to your previous manager. So it is hard, but I understand what you're saying.
Let's react a little bit again to the team news there, because as you can see at the bottom of the screen, we saw him on screen a minute ago warming up. Jakub Stolarczyk is in goal. We know Mads Hermansson has had surgery now. He will miss the rest of the season. I think clearly it was something that had followed on from the injury that he picked up earlier in the season, so they thought surgery was the right idea. Now, so Jakub Stolarczyk comes in, Matt. We know from seeing him, whether it was in the Championship last season, whether it was deputising for Mads this season in the Premier League, he is a more than capable goalkeeper, and another example of one of the young lads that has come through the system here at Leicester.
How old is he? He seems older than his...
He seems older than he is.
Yeah, because he seems to have been... I don't know why. It seems like he's been in and around on the periphery for quite a few years now, but...
He's 24.
24, yeah.
Well, obviously, as a goalkeeper, that is...
Yeah, relatively young, yeah. God, there's umpteen goalkeepers these days at a football club, aren't they? And you see them all, you know, training at different stages of their career. I don't know why. I've never had any doubts about him whatsoever, because, again, just for that reason, that he seems to have been around and been like sort of a steady hand, really, even though he hasn't made that many appearances. But when he came in, his shot stopping, that's another aspect of his game, actually. You see on the screen there. It's against Tottenham, isn't it? Where he was probably man of the match, wasn't he?
Yeah.
From memory. But just showed there, shot stopping it's on a par with Hermansson, for me. A different type of keeper. He's longer, isn't he? And he's more rangy.
This is a great save.
Yeah, down low, wasn't it? Yeah, because there was question marks initially whether there was any touch at all. He thought, no, surely he hadn't got down that low, but he
did.
He did, yeah. He got a little lick on it, just enough. Just enough. There's confirmation of it. But one other thing that he does bring that Hermansson is not so clever at is coming for crosses, like we saw early on, or like that, claiming those under pressure. He's got that. In his capabilities, without a doubt. Shot stop, not so adept with the ball at his feet. Decent enough, but maybe not comfortable enough to take too many risks with it, like Hermansson does, and more often than not gets away with it. But no worries about Stolarczyk at all.
Yeah,
Good character as well.
Yeah, very, very, very good character as well. And you think whatever happens next season in the summer, you don't know what will happen in any position really. Let's be honest. But if Jakub was your keeper next season, you'd be confident, wouldn't you, in the Championship? The same with Mads, obviously. We've seen what he can produce in both divisions.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be part and parcel, if you get relegated. As we know, you'll have the mid-table Premier League clubs looking at the Leicester squad and thinking, can I pick him? Can I pick him? And, if they pick a Manson and then Stolarczyk goes in, you'd be quite confident, he can do a job in the Championship, So it's one of them for me, yeah. I mean, there's no worries about him stepping straight in.
Yeah, he was the goalkeeper the last time. That was the last time he played. Rather, was the last time Leicester won.
Yeah, Tottenham
was really
Premier League. Was
those highlights there. Yeah,
was away at Tottenham, and he was the man of the match that game. And it's not just that. I think it was Man City here at home. He made a couple of good saves. He's got that not even potential. He is a.
Where was it? He played.
Goalkeeper.
He played at Man U, didn't he?
Yeah,
I've got it in my head. He played well.
Yeah.
Then he played exceptionally well, I think. And it was one of those games actually where you thought, is that sort of semi-freakish, like how everything came off for him, even like ricochets were falling into his grasp, etc.
The run of games that he played when Mads was injured was Liverpool away, Man City at home, Villa, QPR here in the Cup, Palace, Fulham, and then that Tottenham game.
The Liverpool game it was that he played exceptionally well, wasn't it? That's right.
He made a brilliant double save as well against Liverpool, Premier League debut.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? That's right, yeah. So red shirts were confusing me. But he's more than capable. More than capable. If he's your goalkeeper next season.
This game here, I think that's a double save. Difficult to see in the fog. I forgot how bad that fog was that missed was that evening. That's better. First save there, then again there.
That's not a keeper who's nervous and tense.
Not at all. The times I have seen him, he's full of confidence, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, for a 24-year-old lad,
no, he's straight in the mix.
And he's been sitting studying. He's been sitting on the bench, but he seems to have the confidence. So
yeah. And when we did see him coming in the Championship, and Preston away, he played that fantastic Monday evening, didn't he? The celebrations there, he played in that, played well. So he played enough Championship games to know that he's a top level goalkeeper, and we'll see that again today and in these remaining 4 games when we know Mads is.
Let's not talk him up too much though. Set him up for a fall. But no, he's a good keeper, a good character, and like I say, next year, I think the vast majority of people will be, if that is to be the case with Hermansen, if he is to leave the club,
or if he's injured, we don't know what.
Whichever way, if Stolarczyk in goal, I don't think people have too many worries.
Then you look elsewhere in the team. We've mentioned Casey McAteer, of course. You've mentioned Skip there as a relatively young lad. Then El Kanouche, Luke Thomas. He's come in recently and looked really good at left back, hasn't he?
Yeah, younger lads as well. And I think I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, give the young lads a chance, and obviously we've seen Monga come on and he's had the odd 10, 15 minutes, but give him half an hour, see what he does, and give the rest of the lads, younger lads, pull them on when the time's right, the second half, give them half an hour, and give them the experience for going into next season and build for next season.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and one we can labour, Matt, is that if Leicester can play well now in these remaining 4 games, particularly starting here today against Southampton, who are, as the table suggests, the worst team in the league. If they can get a win today, if they can just start building a little bit of a feel-good factor, that can only help for next season. Well,
exactly. Like we said earlier, we've got to try and draw every sort of positive that you can between now and the end of the season. Okay, ultimately it's no avail in terms of the big prize, staying in the Premier League, but what's done is done. There's no point moping about it and letting any real rot set in. You've got to try and turn things around, and it started last week, really. You'd like to have seen a difference, but it was a tough game away at Molineux. Wolves were excellent on the day as well. But, you've got to start bouncing back, haven't you? You've just got to have that mentality. And like Steve's mentioned it, really, the best way to do it is in preparation for the start of next season. You don't want a disaster of a finish, a real drab affair, and then you're further behind when it comes to pre-seasons. All the close season, you're sort of moping around a bit and getting over it. And if there's even a whiff of positivity between now and the end of the season, and then you can have a real reason to look forward to next campaign rather than getting over it for a period, and then it might be too late before any positivity kicks in.
I think if you know, and you know this as well I do, Matt. If you win the next 4 games, going into next season is a totally different story.
Yeah.
You know, everybody, all the supporters will be up for it, going right. Well, that was the Premier League, but look how we finished it. We're going into this season. Whereas if it peters out and you know, and you don't put the performances in, then everybody's a bit flat, and you start the season flat. Whereas I think you've got to start the season, you know, putting good performances in. Yes, you might not win every game, but you know, you try and put a good performance in. Give everybody encouragement to kick on the next season.
Yeah, you've got to try your utmost for that. You know, everyone at the club, not just.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sounds too
simplistic, but
totally agree.
There can't be that time for, you know, inside criticism. Well, there can be criticism if it's constructive, but not backbiting and sniping, and things deteriorate more and more then, and you get real negativity around the place. And I'm not saying that's happened at your old club, Luton, but I mean, look what is possible.
Absolutely.
You know, if things
that's
are allowed to go downhill.
I think that's one of the. They're going to be the sort of thing was with the Southampton. I think it was the Derby side I played in got 11 points. Obviously, Southampton 11 points. You know, it was always like, oh, let's not do a Derby, and then now I think it's let's not do a Luton and get relegated.
Yeah.
So and that was the prime example of not taking the confidence of finishing the season on a high, and then going into the next season you're still low on confidence. You're still in that losing mentality, and that's what happened to Luton.
But you want the mentality to be. Right, it hasn't gone well this season. We're partly to blame. We're going to make sure it doesn't happen again. We're going to get ourselves back in this league. We're not going to do a Luton, really.
Totally
you want to be a club like Leicester. You want to be thinking like they did last year, going straight back up. It's going to be a big effort because the confidence will be less next season than it was 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, hence you're saying if they can get a couple of wins now at the end of the season, that confidence can not be as low as what potentially will be if the season peters out.
Because I think if you get a couple results in the next 4 games, I think your mentality going into next season is like, we're bouncing back. We're not even talking about anything else. We're just bouncing back.
Yeah, we've got that capability.
Whereas if it peters out and you know the performances aren't that good, you're now going into that next season going, well, I hope we do well. I hope we do bounce back.
Yeah.
Whereas if you win the 4 games, we're bouncing back.
Yeah.
As that.
To have that mentality. If you've got that genuine belief, like Leicester did last year, largely because of Maresca as well as the individuals, but then the performances are better as a player, because your standards, like for yourself, they don't drop below because you know what you need to be up the top end of that league. Yeah. But there's a lot of things going to happen between now and then.
Absolutely.
Sure.
That's the difficult thing for us to sit here and talk about because it's hard to say. You don't know what players will be here. You don't know what players are going to be signed. You don't know.
No, exactly.
What's going to happen? So it's difficult for us to try and do it, but that's what we're here for.
Absolutely,
that's what we're doing, and that's what Jerry Taggart is also here for, primarily on co-commentary duty for us today. Jerry, how are you feeling? It looks a lovely day today at King Power Stadium. How are you feeling ahead of this one? I know you've been listening into what the guys here have been saying, and you don't want the season to peter out. Do you? That's the key message today.
Yeah, I think it's important, Dan, that by hook or by crook we try and get a couple of results between now and the end of the season. Not just for the confidence of the players that are going to be here next season, but for everyone involved at the football club. You know, it affects every angle, every strain of the football club. Whether it's renewing the season tickets, players that may want to leave if they have a good end of the season. 1 or 2 players might want to stay and say, yeah, I'll give it a go. So there's all kinds of different strains to this relegation, and with 4 games left, there's an opportunity, and today is a good opportunity for Leicester to, I suppose, have some kind of feel-good factor around the place, for even if it's only for a short time.
Yeah, what do you make of the team news? I guess, Jerry, when you look at some of the younger lads, particularly on the bench, there is a looking to the youth. There's a number of players we know missing through injury that hopefully will be in amongst it next season as well. So clearly there is a look and feel today from the academy of Leicester wanting to look ahead, I guess.
Yeah, I think, you look at the bench, it's heavily stacked with the younger players. McAteer gets a start today, Luke Thomas again. But then I suppose you're looking at the top end of the starting 11, and you have to say that to some degree, Ruud van Nistelrooy's hands are tied as regards to who he can and can't change, and that's obviously down to injuries, predominantly. Other players being out, or other players being not available for the squad for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think one thing that neither, to be fair, Steve Cooper nor Ruud van Nistelrooy have done is blame the injuries. But even now, Buonanotte out, Decordova-Reid out, Fatau who's been out for the season now, Hermansen, Mavididi, Ricardo, all these players missing through injury. They're important players and have been important players throughout the whole of this season. A lot of them throughout the whole of last season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But the majority of the names you said are potential game changers, are players who would have started if they would have started the majority of the games throughout the season if they were available. And the two that spring straight away to mind is Fatawu and Ricardo Pereira. So yeah, a couple of big misses there. Amongst other ones as well, Mavididi being out at the end of the season is a bit of a blow when he was coming into a bit of form. So that's a miss as well, especially for the fans who want to see exciting players. And Mavididi was starting to show that in the last couple of games before he got injured. So yeah, I mean, I know managers don't like blaming the injuries, but the reality is that for the majority of the season, he hasn't had probably his best 11 available to him.
Perfect, Joe. Thank you very much. Last question comes from Bubba, who is your number one fan, as we know, Jerry. He's just said, how's the spread in the cafeteria at the King Carl Stadium today?
How's the spread?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, chili today. Baked potatoes, a big wedge of cauliflower, which was really nice, and some sweet corn on the cob, which you cannot beat. One of my favourites.
Lovely. So that set you up perfectly for today's co-contributor. You're alongside John Dunn, so you can catch all of the action, listen to all of the action on Foxy Sub once we're done in around about 15 minutes or so. Thank you very much, Jerry. We'll hear from you just before kick-off. You were having a little look at his hair. Is it a bit of a comb over there, Matt? You were insinuating to me?
A bit like that Brian Ferry job, isn't it?
Jerry was making very similar points to us, particularly about the younger players in looking ahead to next season. I think Bubba again. There's a number of you that are commenting in and joining us, so I do appreciate that. The likes of Stuart, Alfie, Robin, Corey as well. Welcome along, Corey. But Bubba says, in these last two games, we're playing two fellow Championship teams next season as well. So that. Yeah. Is a chance to set a little bit of a tone as well for next season in that sense.
Totally, and that's why I think you put your personnel in there who you think you're gonna do well in the Championship next season, because like you said, there's two sides who you're going to be up against, and yes, the teams might not be the same because, like I said, you're gonna get some mid-table Premiership boys looking at the squads, trying to pick the best players and say, "Can we pinch him? Can we pinch him?" So the squad's going to be a little bit different, but yeah, it's a great opportunity to set your stall up against them.
Do you know who Brian Ferry is? No. I didn't think you did. You can remember him, can't you? Yeah. I was thinking that. You kept that together well, Bates.
Thank you.
I'll show you later. Roxy Music, Slave to Love. Anyway.
Just a blank look on his face.
Where were we? I forgot where we were now.
Southampton
playing
Ipswich.
Teams from the Championship. Yeah. Like I say, any little positives you can grab, and that's one of them. Yeah, trying to get a win over future opponents, stroke rivals, possibly for next season. This is quite a long way off next season, but yeah, it all adds up, doesn't it? It all helps and gives a bit of purpose to the game in general, and also for individuals. They've got to look after their own career and their own destiny, and in doing so, they can help Leicester's.
Yes, speaking of teams next season, that the Championship season has finished around about 10 minutes or so ago. For those interested, that the Leeds won it fairly late on, so Leeds top, Burnley second, separated only by goal difference, those two. Then the playoffs consist of Sheffield United, Sunderland, Coventry and Bristol City. So Bristol, despite drawing on the final day, had Millwall or Blackburn won, they'd have pipped them into sixth place. Likewise, Middlesbrough, if they'd have beaten Coventry, they'd have done it. And then going down, Luton, I'm afraid.
Terrible.
Eve, so it's not been a great season for your...
Unbelievable, that.
Terrible, that.
They got themselves in an all right-ish position as well, didn't they? Got a big win not long ago, didn't they? Beat Coventry.
Yeah.
Last weekend, wasn't it?
There was a few performances by Luton. You thought, right, that's their
bad
season. Right, we're just going to get mid-table, like, a bottom half of the table, and we'll be all right, and then they'll kick on, and then just didn't happen. Just silly goals, conceding silly goals. Some of the goals were just terrible, and the conference just obviously went through the floor, and obviously they've been relegated, which is horrendous.
Yeah, so that's Cardiff, Plymouth, and Luton then down. So saves you a long trip to Plymouth. And probably to Cardiff next season, and probably to Luton as well.
Yeah, Luton.
So then,
happy to miss that one.
Hull and Preston both staying up. Probably be Jerry Taggart.
Well, if things are still the same, that would be Tags motoring away up there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and then obviously we know now Leeds and Burnley up in terms of one of Sheffield United, Sunderland, Coventry, or Bristol City. Let's hope it's not Coventry for that point of view. It'd be nice to have that derby against them as well.
Who we fancying out of that? Playoffs.
Well, Sheffield United have been good, but then they've fallen off, haven't they?
Sheffield United. It can't be Sunderland. So as simple as that. It's got to be Sheffield United.
You reckon?
Can't be Sunderland.
Not Bristol City.
Anybody else apart from Sunderland? Not bothered.
I'm watching Coventry. They're celebrating like they've won the playoffs. It's just
it's got to be Sheffield United.
Just got in it. Yeah, you would think so. The players they got in it.
I think one thing actually now that everything has been confirmed from a Leicester point of view, we can now start to look and compare, because obviously in the previous weeks when it's looked obvious, because it never happened, we've never really been able to start doing that, but we can now start piecing together what next season can look like. We're not going to sit here and pick what players we think should stay or should go, but you can have an idea, can't you, in your head.
It would make sense, and I think the lineup today is touching on it, to cast an eye, to be picking a team with an eye on next season, really, because if for one reason or another, why would you pick? Certain players are not going to be here, whether it's loanees going back, or whether it's the end of their contract, or whether there's speculation, likelihood they're going to join another team because other teams coming in. Whatever the reason, it's not much point in playing them.
No, not at all.
Now,
Totally agree. Why should you put
brutal about it? Exactly. Is okay. What's done is done, like we said, and you've got to do as best you can, make preparations for the next campaign, and and carry on your work as if that's going to be the case. Yeah. Who knows? Like we said, many things are going to transpire between now and the kick-off next season. But that's how people have got to approach things.
Yeah, I guess it's just trying to be as positive as you can. And I think the man on the screen there, battling for the ball in the warm-up, Casey McAteer, that is a positive. I know we've spoken about him already, but for those, again, just joining us, he does start on the right wing for Leicester today. And he scored some big goals, some important goals in the Championship a couple of seasons ago. Had a few injury problems, both last season and this season rather. So getting him in is important. And you've got the polar opposite on the other side in terms of experience. Jordan Ayew's got an awful lot of that. He's under contract. He could be a big player next season as well.
Well, as an individual, you've always got a purpose about your performance. Whatever stage you are at your career, to polar opposites pretty much there, Casey and Jordan Ayew. But I don't think I was alone in it. Far from it. Everyone's pretty much similar, aren't they? Even when we were older, Steve, you were still like.
Oh, you still had
I was probably
yeah.
even more driven actually when I got older. I was more disciplined
Yeah.
in my approach.
So that's gone from discipline here to maybe a little bit more there, which is still quite low.
Yeah, don't stretch it. No, but in terms of looking after myself, I had to look after myself more and better. Yeah. And I knew my time was running out, so it was more precious as well.
It's pride as well.
Exactly. And competition every year. Sorry, Steve.
Go on.
Every year, people don't realise. Sort of going off track a little bit, but as a player, the fact that you've played 10 seasons maybe at one club and you've been a mainstay doesn't mean you're going to automatically get a start next season as well.
Not at all. No.
It's like it's a blank script, regardless of the same manager. Yeah. Really, if someone coming in is younger and better and quicker and whatever else you want than you're in trouble, and you've got to really apply yourself. Yeah. So, people players, regardless of promotion, relegation, whatever, you have to look after yourself properly, and
especially now, especially in the Premiership now. I mean, because
but you can't afford to take it easy, can you?
I was going to say you got to be a proper athlete like we were. But you have to, it's all about your fitness and you can't take your foot. But for the older lads, it's even harder because it's obviously the standard's so high. And I think that's right. The older you got, the harder you worked on your discipline. The young lad, you can go out, you can have a couple of pizzas and still make your weight. Whereas older lads, a couple of pizzas, you were fined. Yeah, it was one of them where.
So even in the summer, then it becomes almost different for you because when you're younger, you can be like,
better.
Because you can have a bit of fun.
5-6 pints, away you go. Yeah, great. But as you get older, 5-6 pints, it takes you a lot to get them 5-6 pints out your system and off your belly.
My first year as a professional, went down to Torquay. And I came home to Epsom for 6 weeks. Right. When I end of the season, I was 14 stone 5. 6 weeks later, I was 15 stone 9. I learned my lesson the hard way. It took me all season to get it off.
See, I used to get weird with coins in my hand at the end of the season. So when you go back, you like that.
Oh, you've been working hard.
Thank you very much.
But like I say, we're going not just the the physical and the dietary discipline and the fitness side, but just applying yourself and learning little bits off other players, practicing, strengthening your weaknesses and vice versa, or whatever. No, you don't want to do that, do you? You don't want to weaken your strengths. But just give it all an effort, regardless. But some players have got that anyway, most of them, because you wouldn't make a decent career for yourself. But players like Casey McAteer, right, might actually be looking at it. So I go, right, relegation, okay. Right, it hasn't worked out for me that well this year. I'm really going to make a go of it in the Championship. Yeah. I'm going to become a mainstay. I've got a better opportunity.
Every player wants to play in the Premiership. Every player wants to play in the Premiership. And even the young lads coming on today or the few games, they'll be thinking, you know what, I wouldn't mind staying in the Premiership. So you basically, the young lads are basically putting themselves in the shop window for other Premier League clubs to go, I'll have him or I'll take him. But even though you could be playing the Championship,
or it gives you that motivation that it's hold on, next season let's do absolutely everything we can because we can get back.
We can get back up.
Yeah.
Or
even now, playing now, getting opportunities, we'll put them in the reckoning for being a possible regular next season.
Yeah.
Rather, if they don't shine or show anything at all, given any opportunities between now and the end of the season, then they might start just being a squad player rather than a starter.
This fixture today with Southampton, by the way, has been dedicated to the Leicester Hospitals charity. I know for a number of these last few home games, there's been a number of different fantastic charities around Leicester. This one right up there, obviously. So everywhere around the pitch, if you are still coming in, I know we're 20 minutes away from kickoff, or if you're there'll be buckets to put a bit of your change in. You can also text 10 LCFC to 70085 to donate £10 to support Leicester Hospitals charity. I know £10 is a lot of money, but basically they're raising funds for a new state-of-the-art neonatal technology. And I went down firsthand actually last week to the hospital here in Leicester to see what this will do. And it will go basically this cutting-edge neonatal technology at the Leicester Royal, state-of-the-art ultrasound scanner and 4D Pro, basically offering faster and more precise diagnosis for premature and seriously ill babies. And we were down there this week. Caleb Okoli was there, James Justin as well. Went and met a few of the families that have been affected, a few of the doctors, the surgeons, the nurses there. They do unbelievably well. So it's called Give Big for Little Hearts. So if you can give anything, then please do for the Leicester Hospitals charity for the game today. Just back on it, we'll get a reminder of team news in just a moment. But I guess today's opposition, Southampton, Matt, they'll be thinking very similar to what Leicester are thinking. They've got the added 11 points. Issue. I'm not pointing at you.
No, point away.
They've got the additional of they don't want to equal Derby's record, do they? So they've probably got that in mind. They've also got next season in mind, whether it's building together or looking elsewhere, whatever it might be.
Looking at their lineup's not as youthful minded as, not that Leicester is particularly, more so on the bench, isn't it? But I think Southampton, for those reasons you just said there, they're trying to make sure they haven't got the stigma of
absolutely.
That record, that unwanted record.
I don't want that. Yeah.
Because
genuinely, do you want them to equal it? Or
do I want? Not? Well,
yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Because it's one of them where hey, when I played in that squad just before obviously I came here, we weren't prepared for the Premiership anyway. But it's one of them where you're still reminded of it, and it's not nice. But for me, I was playing the Premiership, so I didn't care. I was playing non-league 10 years before that, and then I've gone to the Premier League. But a few of the other lads, it follows them round, and you don't want that stigma. So I think they'll be all guns out trying to beat that, trying to get a few more points on the board, without a doubt.
Yeah, rather than preparing for next year, they're preparing for trying to achieve that record or get rid of that.
Beat
record,
get that monkey off the back. Absolutely.
They've got some players in there, by the way. I'm surprised they've been as bad as they have. Look at the.
They might look, by the way, at their fixtures. They've obviously played Leicester today. Next up is Man City. Then it's Everton for, I think that's their last game at Goodison Park. So Everton will be right up for that one. And then it's Arsenal at home on the final day. So if they're thinking where are they getting that extra point, maybe they'll be thinking today is their best bet for that.
Yeah, I think they will probably, it's a dire enough situation for honest comments, and I think that will probably be mentioned. Would you say within the changing room today? Because you got to be blunt enough and say, you can't say, it doesn't work today, lads. Maybe next week. But it's unlikely that's going to happen. So they've got to give it their all today. Leicester needs to be ready and warned and prepared for that.
But that's on the other side of that coin. Was Leicester's got to look at Southampton thinking they've got 11 points for a reason.
Yeah.
So we need to turn these over.
Yeah, because we want to win a game.
Yeah,
we want to get more points than what we've got. Let's get a quick reminder of today's team news then from both a Leicester and Southampton points of view. Ruud van Nistelrooy has decided to make 5 changes to the team that lost to Wolves a week ago. So in comes Stolarczyk, Justin, Skip, Ayew and McAteer. It is Stolarczyk in goal, Thomas, Fass, Cody and Justin across the back 4. Ndidi and Skip in midfield with Ayew and McAteer either side of both El Khanous and Jamie Vardy. Very quickly then at Southampton as well, they've got Ramsdale in goal, Stevens, Bednarek and Harwood Bellis across the back 3. Manning and Walker-Peters are the 2 wing-backs. Ugachukwu and Flynn Downs in midfield with Sulemana Fernandez just behind Ross Stewart. A quick word, Steve, on Jamie Vardy before we hand over to the commentary team. We know, obviously, this will be his last couple of games in a Leicester shirt. Potentially, well, it is the second to last time we'll see him in a Leicester shirt at King Power Stadium. He's 2 goals away from 200 for the club. It's a shame he missed that penalty last week because today would have been, he's 1 goal away. But if you can even get 1 today, going into those final couple, he'll want that. Is it the type of record you as a former forward would want? You know, you want to get to those milestones, you want to reach things like that?
Absolutely, you want to get to 200 as quick as you can. You know, if he can score 2 or, you know, maybe get a hat-trick today, he'll be buzzing. But he's been absolutely superb for this football club. He really has. And, you know, me watching him, I've said many times on here and the interviews I've done, he's just a tremendous player. You know, broken records left, right and centre. And it would just be fitting for him to get the 200 goals at this club. So he's going to be all out for it. Like you said, it would have been nice for him to get the penalty last week, but didn't happen. But I'm pretty confident in him, and he's confident in his own ability. If he gets a sniff of a chance, he'll stick it away.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen some of the comments on this show today, Matt. People have said that they know they're not available to come for Jamie Vardy's last home game against Ipswich. This potentially today is their last time to see Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of sadness actually, won't there? You know, especially from the vast majority of supporters, well, all supporters really. An era is coming to an end. Shame that it's coincided with, you know, a poor season and you know, ultimately relegation. But even if Jamie Vardy doesn't get that benchmark of 200 goals, he's got plenty to console himself with. He ain't done bad, has he?
No,
that photo the other day I saw of all the things that he's won on sort of an individual level. You know, he's won the Premier League, the FA Cup, Community Shield, and all personal awards as well. It was an incredible photo, especially when you consider where he's come from.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Let's hope he can get to 200 in a Leicester City shirt. Let's hope he can get to at least 199 today to then heading into those final games. No, he only needs just the one. Thank you to Steve and to Matt for your company pre-match as we've been building up to kick-off here against Southampton. It is now time, though, to hand you over to our commentary team after a short little break. John Dunn and Jerry Taggart will be the team that will take you through the full 90 minutes. You can listen to all of the action, of course, as ever, on Fox's Hub. Will that man on the left of your screen get to 200? Stick with us to find out.